Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. If it's your first time here, my name is James and I'm from Sydney, Australia. I started this channel because I wanted to share some of my tips on what has really worked well for me when it comes to indoor plant care. Today's video is going to be about the fungus gnat. I'm going to be going through 10 different methods in order of effectiveness, kind of true to Pokemon battle style, on how you can get rid of these guys and really understanding what is the cause of them. If you do want to see some more content from me, consider subscribing. It would mean so much to me and keep me going to deliver you guys some cool content, and hitting that bell icon so you get notifications and then you won't miss any updates when new videos drop each week. I'd strongly recommend that you don't go anywhere. So this is strangely a topic that I have a really burning passion to talk about because I've had really bad infestations of fungus gnats and I have so much knowledge on how to get rid of them. I for one have had extensive experience on fighting fungus gnats. For almost more than a year, I've tried so many different methods, and there was a point that I absolutely hated my indoor plants because I had so many. And I'm telling you, the infestation was so bad. When I first introduced indoor plants into my home, it wasn't too bad. I had fungus gnats here and there and the population was under control. But there was an unfortunate time where I decided to repot 80% of all the indoor plants that I owned in the one day itself. Then about a week later, I was fighting an infestation of gnats, and I'm telling you, it was an infestation. I was seeing them in the shower, in the living room, in the bedrooms. It was just ridiculous, and I was like, my God, I almost wanted to bin all of my indoor plants, as sad as that may sound. That was how bad it was. So I have so many different methods to share with you guys, and I really want to help you guys get through it. We can do this. First of all, I just want to explain to you what they are and why they can become such a problem. Adult gnats usually fly around and then lay their eggs in the top layer of your moist soil, and then after 4 to 6 days, these eggs will hatch. This is the larval phase, and then they start feasting on any organic matter that they can get their hands on. Essentially, after 2 weeks of this buffet period, they become adult gnats again, and the whole life cycle continues. If you do miss one, these adult gnats can lay up to 300 eggs. So 300, think about if you miss one, you're just going to be in this never-ending life cycle. So the methods I'm going to suggest target different areas during that life cycle, and you really need to be diminishing them from each phase. I'll be categorizing each method and technique from order of type, whether it's proactive or reactive, effectiveness, kind of Pokemon style, whether it is effective, not so effective, or super effective, looking at cost. This will help you determine which methods will really suit your situation. Just note, all methods can take anywhere from between 2 days to 2 weeks to 2 months. But do be patient but vigilant in your gnat control. The most effective way is to use a combination of these methods. And then I'll provide you a summary of what I recommend. Note, I'll be sorting this by ascending price because it obviously is not the most thrilling cost to a houseplant owner, is it? First method, do not overwater. I think this is the most easiest tip that I can give to you, but is basically a proactive and a preventative measure. The cost is obviously free. Fungus gnats love moist conditions. The more that you're feeding your plant, the higher chance that you're cultivating the desirable environment that your fungus gnat may like to feed in. So I have a little bit of a bigger risk appetite, and I'll generally go for a longer and extended period of drying out my plants. It is obviously not recommended for plants such as caletheas who prefer to have moister soils. So I do just recommend that you are not overwatering your plants. I don't absolutely recommend drying it completely out unless you're absolutely livid with your situation and you have such a massive infestation. And if you're drying them out too often, you may see negative impacts. The second method that I recommend is hydrogen peroxide at 3%. Basically, this can be a proactive or a reactive measure. The cost is about $4. I get this from Woolworths, and basically I find that it is super effective. Hydrogen peroxide, to be honest, I was a little bit scared when I started using it for the first time because I wasn't sure what the actual impacts were. You know, when you think about hydrogen peroxide, you think bleach, you think harmful, you kind of think, oh, this is kind of some strong shit. But rest assured, using hydrogen peroxide is very safe with plants, granted that you're giving it a very diluted solution. I mix 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 4 parts of water. So for example, this one is 200 mils. I'll mix this with 800 mils inside my watering can. Make sure you're giving it a very thorough thorough stir, and then you're actually not applying it directly onto the plants, but giving that a first initial splash with your watering before you actually apply the hydrogen peroxide. A few key benefits of using hydrogen peroxide in your watering is that it'll give the soil a boost of oxygen and allowing the roots to absorb more of the nutrients. And this method kills off the gnats in the larval stage. Number 3, sticky traps. So these can be used as a proactive and a reactive measure. I find that they're also very cost effective because you can get 10 of these for about $5. And in terms of effectiveness, I find that they are super effective. I mean, there's nothing more jarring than a massive yellow tab that is sticking out of the side of your pot. However, it is super effective. These are really useful because the adult gnats will then get stuck onto the yellow sticky tabs because of the sticky surface, and they are attracted to this color. If you wanted, you could purchase ones that are already cut into nice little shapes. I've seen butterflies and stars and some monstera shaped leaves out there, but honestly, there's nothing sexy about a whole bunch of fungus gnats stuck to a sticky tab. I'm going to demonstrate to you how I use this in a cost-effective manner by purchasing a large sticky tab, grabbing some disposable chopsticks, some scissors, and some sticky tape, and then I usually cut them up according to the size of the pot or the size of the infestation. So for example, if I had a smaller plant, I would then cut it up, maybe this one into about 1/4. The first step here is you grab the sticky tab. I might be using half of this sticky tab, so I'll cut this in half. I'll grab my chopstick, and then I'll peel off one layer of the sticky tab, and then I'll stick the chopstick on top and use this as a pole. I'll grab some extra sticky tape, and then I'll tape the top. So now you have a makeshift sticky tab that you can apply to your pot. You can then use this to insert it into the base of the soil, as so, and there you have it. Number 4, Max Raid Plug. So I've used this as a reactive measure and costs about $8.50 from Bunnings, and I found that it's been pretty effective. I'll usually just plug it in and then leave it on overnight, group my plants together, and then wake up to a graveyard of gnats. I'll show you some footage of what it can look like. I'll then have to vacuum that up, but I have found that it has been pretty effective. However, with a really massive infestation, I found that gnats were still flying around. So this actually worked on my first round of when I had a really small population of gnats, but when I had that massive infestation that I told you guys about, this wasn't too effective and I had to combine a whole lot of other techniques as well. Number 5, gnat barrier or mosquito bits. So I often find that you'll be using this in a reactive measure as opposed to proactive, but you can obviously use them for both. I purchased this from Bunnings for $19.60. However, I don't have the product here to show you because I've already consumed all of my product. And actually I won't be purchasing it anymore, but I'll tell you in a little bit more detail why. I used to advocate this as a really good product, and I found that it was really effective in controlling my gnat situation when I first got into indoor houseplants. I used to actually advocate this to all my friends and be like, hey, this really works, because essentially it's just a thick layer of natural abrasive pumice granules that is applied to the top of your soil, and then you water it and then it activates. If you are deciding to use the gnat barrier, make sure that you're using a dust mask and actually doing it outside, as I have in this photo. But hang on, I have a few considerations of this product that I'd like you to hear before you actually go out and purchase this one. After a year of use, I've been finding that it is trapping too much moisture underneath that thick layer. And as a result, there's a little bit of a moist condition that is brewing underneath. I personally don't like this because I prefer the soil to be well draining and aerated. If you do have a thick layer of that coarse granule on the top, it isn't allowing good airflow into the soil. I actually really do think it is a great product, but yeah, use it with care and for your consideration of what I've talked about. Number 6, neem oil. This can be used as a proactive and a reactive measure for your fungus gnats. I purchased this from Bunnings for $21.88 for about 100 mils. You will have to dilute the solution, but honestly, I've actually found it not so effective. And it is pretty controversial. I do think there are probably some benefits that you do get from a proactive measure, but reactively, I found that it hasn't done much. But don't get me wrong, I've actually just finished a whole bottle of this, even though I've just told you that it's not effective. I've just purchased a brand new one. I'll continue to apply it as a proactive measure because I do think they must be doing something. But I might conclude that if your infestation is so large, then perhaps this might not be the best product for you on getting those gnats under control. Oh my God, there's actually a gnat there. Oh my God. It's landed right on the lens. This is... Number 7, TANLIN drops. This can be used as a proactive and reactive measure. So think of it as the final boss. It costs about $40 to $50 online, and I'm gonna rank this as super effective. I mean, it has to be super effective if you're gonna be spending $40 to $50 on this tiny bottle. Although, note, it's actually very concentrated, where 1 ml of this makes up to 100 liters in solution. So really, if you're doing it for your indoor plant world, I'll actually only use a tiny drop of this in my watering can. So how it works is that it's a microscopic crystal, so that when the fungus gnat eats it, it perforates its gut wall and essentially kills it. This solution, as with the others, will take time because it requires the fungus gnats to actually physically eat those microscopic crystals. The interesting call out for this one is that hydrogen peroxide apparently reduces the effectiveness of it. So just bear that in mind. So those are my 7 gnat control techniques that I've actually trialed personally. The next 3 that I'm going to quickly run you through are ones that I've not exactly tried yet. So if you do have any experience with them and have any comments, I'd love to hear from you. Number 8 is on bottom watering. This can be a proactive or a reactive measure. If you're bottom watering, essentially that water is being sucked up and butt chugged from the bottom. In theory, fungus gnats like to lay their eggs in the top layer of the moist soil, so bottom watering will help deter that. Number 9, matchsticks. So this is a reactive measure. The cost of these are quite cheap. You could probably get them at your grocery store for about $2, but essentially you poke those matchsticks in the soil to help control gnats. Apparently, the sulfur and the phosphorus will help get rid of them in a safe manner. I would love to hear your thoughts on this method. And finally, number 10, CEYLON cinnamon. This can be used as a proactive or a reactive measure. You could likely purchase this for about $5 to $10 depending on the store that you acquire them from, but I've heard that if you sprinkle CEYLON cinnamon on the top layer of the soil, this will help prevent fungus gnats. One note is that CEYLON cinnamon is different from your regular cinnamon, so make sure that if you're going to the grocery store that you're purchasing the correct one. I know that in Australia, I can't really readily find them at Woolworths, and I have to purchase them at specific health food stores or order them online. If anyone's had any luck with this method, I'd love to hear more. So, final summary by cost. Number 1, do not overwater. Number 2, bottom water. Number 3, matchsticks. Number 4, hydrogen peroxide. Number 5, sticky tabs. Number 6, CEYLON cinnamon. Number 7, Max Raid. Number 8, gnat barrier. Number 9, neem oil. And finally, number 10, TANLIN drops. If cost is not a factor, if I were you, I'd probably jump straight to the TANLIN drops because I've used a combination of all of these methods and basically have spent over hundreds and hundreds of dollars already. However, if you do want to be a little bit more cost savvy, I'd recommend going for number 1 on not overwatering, number 5 on sticky tabs, and then introducing finally hydrogen peroxide if the infestation is just too bad. So just a disclaimer that these methods have been things that have worked really well for me. It might be different in your case, but in my opinion, it's down to trial and error. Also, I'll be sending one lucky winner a bottle of TANLIN drops valued at $50. Entries are limited to Australia only, unfortunately. To qualify, all you have to do is be subscribed to my channel, leave me a comment in this actual video on which fungus gnat control method that you've used in the past. I'll be using a random generator to select a lucky winner from the comment section, and I'll be announcing the winner at the end of August by pinning a comment to this actual video, so stay tuned and make sure that you're checking on the 30th of August. Good luck. Thank you guys so much again for watching. I hope you learned something new in today's video. I drop some plant content regularly, so I will leave some floating icons for you to dive into some other cool videos. Remember to leave me a comment on which fungus gnat control method you use to get rid of your fungus gnats to win those TANLIN drops. Until then, as always, be happy, stay safe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.